This is the World Organic News for the week ending 26th of March 2018. Jon Moore reporting. As I discussed last month, we have a new vision statement for the podcast and blog. Decarbonise the air, recarbonise the soil. With this in mind, I'm calling on my listeners to put forward ideas for an interview episode once a month. If you know anyone who is doing either part of the vision, I'd love to hear from them, or indeed from you, if you are on the front line doing the work. This week we continue our journey through the soil with a post from the blog CHELSIESQUARED entitled 7 Ways to Kill Soil Microbes and Why This is a Bad Idea. The author, Chelsie Anderson, comes to this post from two separate events which were adverse for her worm farm. In one case, the worms went walkabout when too many coffee grounds were added to the worm bin. The second event was the result of using chemical-laden potting material from an off-farm source. Earthworms make great canaries in the sense that miners used to keep canaries to check for poison gas in mines. If the earthworms are leaving, we have a problem. They will, naturally enough, no pun intended, move away from things that will kill them. They are sensitive to changes in their homes. They require bedding and food. Should either of these be outside their comfort zone, they will decamp. Keeping earthworms has many benefits, but as canaries in your soil, this might be one you hadn't thought of yet. To the top 7 killers. 1. Chemicals. This one would seem self-evident. We too can be poisoned by chemicals, so it's not surprising. Earthworms and other soil biota suffer the same consequences. Now, chemicals can cover anything from excessive amounts of coffee to artificial fertilisers. The dose is, of course, important. This is why earthworms and other soil biota can survive low levels of nitrogen, potassium and phosphate fertilisers. If used as directed by the manufacturers, they are lethal to soil biota. 2. Salt. The apocryphal tale of the Romans ploughing the fields of Carthage with salt gets the message across. As does seawater inundation in low-lying islands in the Pacific, salt will kill soil biota. Salt is also suggested as a natural herbicide. Yes, salt is natural. Yes, it will kill weeds and snails and beneficial plants and soil biota and earthworms. It has no place in your soil. 3. Vinegar. Quote, this is another weed killer. If you buy a horticultural grade vinegar, 7 to 20%, and spray this on young weeds in the spring, they will die back, at least temporarily. The problem is, vinegar kills indiscriminately, so it will kill other plants if accidentally sprayed, as well as critters in the soil, including microbes, end quote. So it is again natural, but not something to be used. 4. Chlorine. This one is a dosage matters with poison situation. Chlorine gas was used in World War I to kill humans. It is used in swimming pools to kill microbes. It is in the public water supply for the same reason. The key words there are kill microbes. Garden hoses from mains water supply will contain chlorine. I smell the stuff if I have the first shower in the morning, so there's plenty in the water. To avoid this peril in the garden will require some form of rainfall harvesting. I understand this is illegal in some parts of the world, apparently to control mosquito breeding places. The other solution, as suggested by aquarium owners, is to let the water stand uncovered overnight to allow the chlorine to dissipate. This isn't really a goer if you've got a rather large garden. Best advice, try to avoid chlorine. 5. Dehydration. This one is difficult to see, obviously with microscopic biota, but earthworms again act as a canary in the mind. And I'll quote from the piece again. Quote, in a not so obvious but simple way, dehydration kills microbes. You want to preserve those summer berries? Dehydrate them and they will not rot. Soil microbes are no different. While very wet conditions can cause anaerobic conditions, smelly and not so good bacteria and nematodes thrive, drought also kills. This is one more reason to use a mulch in summer. Natural mulches prevent topsoil from drying out, also preserving those beneficial bacteria, end quote. This seems so obvious once said out loud. Now, some soil biota are capable of surviving droughts by sealing themselves off and waiting for rain, but that's not much help if you're trying to grow things. For that matter, neither is dry soil. I like the mulch idea. It fits in with the no bare soil principle from last week's episode. 6. My favourite, tilling. Another of the principles from last week. I don't think I can paraphrase better than Chelsie for this point, so here comes a longish quote. Quote, "The no-till garden has gained in popularity over the past decade or so, and with good reason. Mycorrhizal fungus is an invisible to the human eye web in the soil that literally feeds your plants the nutrition they need in exchange for the sugars that plants can produce through photosynthesis of the sun. It's a pretty great mutually beneficial relationship. Plants that have abundant amounts of fungus are less susceptible to disease, pest problems, and also grow stronger, since they are being well fed. Parent trees can share nutrition with baby saplings using this web as well. In a way, nurturing them just as any other living being does its young. When we till the soil, we break up this invisible web, meaning our plants are left with fewer bodyguards. Only dig when it is necessary, that is, to harvest your potatoes or to plant a seedling. Otherwise, simply top dress your garden with all the goodies, including worm castings, and the microbes will travel to where they want to be in the soil food web." End quote. I think we may have more than sufficient evidence available to support this idea. By the way, I happen to have a no-dig gardening book for sale at Amazon and on the website, link in the show notes. 7. Starvation. This is a thing which becomes second nature once we change our mindsets from feeding plants to feeding the soil. Organic matter and the correct level of moisture will keep our soil beasties alive and well. Mulching, no bare soil and no tillage will all work together to ensure their dietary requirements are met. Again, to quote the piece, quote, "Microbes, like anything else, need carbohydrates. Naturally, they get them from plants. Photosynthesis produces sugars, and this keeps them going. If you have a bare patch of soil with no plants, there will be no food. You can artificially add carbs to their habitat through sprinkling the ground with finely milled flour, for example, or by mixing molasses into water and applying this. Or you can simply allow plants to grow, as they will feed the system naturally. Does this not explain why bare ground doesn't stay bare for long?" End quote. So in summary, these are the things to avoid to keep your soil microbial community happy, thriving and alive. 1. Chemicals. 2. Salt. 3. Vinegar. 4. Chlorine. 5. Dehydration. 6. Tilling. And 7. Starvation. And with that, I'll draw this episode to a conclusion. Remember, decarbonise the air, recarbonise the soil. Now, as a podcast listener, you may have been thinking of producing your own podcast, but you're not sure where to begin. Drop over to mrjohnmoore.com and check out my course. I've been teaching this at community colleges around town and have developed an online version. There's a link in the show notes. Classes start whenever you're ready, and I'd love to see you join the podcasting community. A transcript of this episode is available at worldorganicnews.com. Thanks for listening, and I'll be back next week.